Devotional Panel is a painting that is generally found in someone's house or palace and is small in scale. It has a more intimate character than a large-scale altarpiece. There is a connection between an artist's work or craft and his own devotion to God. That is, he makes his work for the glory of God. Every painting was, in some ways, an act of devotion. The St. Jerome is Ercole's earliest surviving independent painting, and it's also his earliest devotional image. In it we see some of the elements that Ercole emphasizes throughout his career, and that is the recreation of a traditional form, attention to the fineness of detail, and the attitude toward a picture as a precious object. Ercole originally applied a glaze over the robe of St. Jerome and allowed this glaze to kind of lay over gold so that when light passed through the glaze, it would bounce off the gold as if off a golden mirror, and the picture would have vibrated with the effects of light. And this was something that was prized at court. It was precious and vibrant, like a jewel. The St. John the Baptist was painted by Ercole early on in his career. The Baptist is a wonderful example of what you can see with infrared because it shows you changes to the composition that are both formal and symbolic, and they hinge on the knot at the Baptist shoulder. Ercole, in traditional fashion, showed the Baptist in the beginning with a cloak that was knotted at the shoulder. He removed the traditional knot and made it impossible for the drapery to remain on the Baptist body because he's thinking about the Baptist role as the forerunner of Christ. And the body of the Baptist and his anguished look actually derives from a Pietà image, that is the image of the Christ dead. You see behind him the dawn of a new age. The sky is turning pink, and the Baptist is both prophet and apostle. He straddles the Old and the New Testaments, and as the forerunner of Christ, he stands at the dawn of the new age.
The only thing that we know really for sure about this painting is that it must be about love. The cupids in the upper left-hand corner shooting their arrows indicate that the subject is, indeed, love. It's, of course, also about beauty. One school of thought is that paintings like this were created as beautiful objects, things to tease the mind rather than tell a specific story. For instance, the lustful Pan pursued many nymphs in the course of his life, usually unsuccessfully, and this could represent any one of them. And so, for the learned viewer in Dosso's time, they would be trying to figure out just which story involving Pan this might be, and that would lead them deeper and deeper into the painting and into what is portrayed in the painting. Dosso painted for one of the richest and most cultivated cultures in northern Italy. It was a rich culture of pleasure that surrounded the court of Duke Alfonso d'Este, and that's just one aspect of this, because the court was also a great center of humanist learning, a court that loved intellectual discourse, loved riddles, loved any kind of device that teased the mind. So perhaps Dosso deliberately sought enigma in this painting. In the case of the allegory of fortune, Dosso did not seek enigma. He wanted, in fact, to be quite clear, and therefore he follows some rather classic imagery. The goddess of fortune was, in the Renaissance, usually portrayed nude and holding a cornucopia. Sometimes she was shown balancing on a ball to show her instability. But Dosso has transformed this traditional symbol, and here has her perched on a soap bubble to show that fortune is also fleeting. She wears only one sandal because she brings misfortune as well as fortune. The man, however, was a little more difficult to identify because he doesn't correspond to any known personification from the Renaissance. It turns out that he's holding a bundle of lottery tickets in his hand, and we know that the lottery had recently become quite popular in Venice. We know that they're lottery tickets because the bundle of lots in that form, only held by a ribbon rather than by a hand, was an emblem chosen by one of the great ladies of the Renaissance, Isabella d'Este. Apparently, this emblem of lottery tickets was chosen by Isabella to represent the fluctuating fortune she had known in her own life. So the tickets here tie right in with this representation of fortune. So perhaps then, this painting was created for Isabella. However, as people in the Renaissance came to understand that they were masters of their own destinies, they accepted also the basic reality that there is a chance element in life, and representations of the goddess of fortune became a popular way to personify this idea. In that case, the message of the painting could be a much more general one, suggesting that life is chancy for us all.
The Guelenghi d'Este Hours was a lavish prayer book made in Ferrara in the late 1460s. It was made for a couple, Orsina d'Este and Andrea Gualengo. Orsina was a member of Ferrara's ruling family, the Este, and Andrea was a high-ranking diplomat at the Este court. Like many books and paintings of the period, the manuscript was probably a wedding gift that celebrated the union of two families. The wedding itself was a kind of reward for the groom, Andrea. Early in 1469, he negotiated a difficult political agreement for Orsina's brother Borzo, the Duke of Ferrara. In exchange, he was allowed to marry into the powerful Este family. The manuscript was also a devotional object to aid the couple in their private prayers, and it was a bit of a status symbol as well. The artist, Taddeo Crivelli, painted the book's pictures, also called miniatures. Crivelli was one of the most skillful illuminators of the period. We don't know who commissioned the Guelenghi d'Este Hours. However, we do know it was made specifically for the couple, because their portrait appears in its pages. Orsina and Andrea kneel with the two small children in a private chapel. They're shown before a saint, perhaps celebrating Mass. The saint is Brilliance, a 12th century bishop who must have been of special importance to the Gualengo family. The couple is represented in the book in other ways, too. The Gualengo coat of arms appears in the manuscript, and the anchors in the borders of some pages relate to Orsina. The Guelenghi d'Este Hours is a type of medieval book called a Book of Hours. The Book of Hours has been referred to as the bestseller of the later Middle Ages and Renaissance. People wanted a more intimate and direct relationship with God in this period, and the Book of Hours satisfied that need. The central part of a Book of Hours was the Office of the Virgin, which consisted of a series of prayers which people read at specific hours of the day. The book and its images guided the worshipper in his or her spiritual meditations. Books of Hours also contained suffrages, which were very short prayers directed to a patron's favorite saints. Most of the illustrations in this manuscript appear in the suffrages, and it's here that the inventiveness of the artist really shines. Gregory the Great appears to be singing with joy. He's shown in a fantastic, classically inspired building that seems to project off the page. There's a kind of wild energy in this picture. You get a sense of it in the twisting forms of the pink banderole the Puto is holding, and in the blue banner winding up the side. The miniature of St. Catherine is much quieter in mood. She is shown before a lectern, absorbed in private devotion. Here, the artist's brushstrokes in the marble background are applied at an angle that emphasizes the gentle incline of her head. Crivelli's illuminations also reveal a lot about the Ferrarese cult of St. Jerome. In the 1400s, there was a new emphasis on Jerome's repentant nature. In the book, he's shown embracing the crucifix and kissing the feet of Christ, which was a new way of showing the saint. Crivelli's image resembles a medal of the nobleman Domenico Novello Malatesta, which was made by Pisanello. It shows Malatesta, like Jerome, embracing the cross and kissing Christ's feet. The quirky way in which both Malatesta's and St. Jerome's feet are crossed is almost identical. Crivelli may have also seen this painting of St. Jerome in the Gesuati Oratory in Ferrara. The Gesuati were a hugely important local religious group who were devoted to St. Jerome because of his penitential nature. Here too Jerome appears adoring the crucifix, embracing the cross, and kissing the feet of Christ. The figures in the background of the painting are robed Gesuati. So, Crivelli borrowed from local art and culture to represent the saint in a way that was new to manuscript illumination. That he decided to focus on Jerome's penitent nature reflects religious attitudes of the period. It reminds us that this book was the product of a very specific time and place, Ferrara in the 1460s. That's easy to forget when you see it in a museum today alongside art from around the world and across the centuries.